What is a woman truly saying if they say, I don't like nice guys?
They're saying that my nervous system does not produce the effect that I call love around people who do not send it into some kind of fight or flight response.
Wow.
It's there are when I am met with someone who does not make me chase, when I am met with someone who doesn't make me feel I have to earn their love, when I am met with someone who doesn't play games, doesn't give me anxiety by being consistent for 3 days and then dropping off the radar for 5 or a week. When I am with someone who doesn't do those things, it doesn't feel like love to me.
Wow.
It does not feel like passion. It doesn't feel like fireworks. It doesn't feel like the thing that I think I'm supposed to feel.
Wow.
And, you know, there's obviously so much knowledge now on where those things come from, and that there are old patterns in how we related to our caregivers or our parents, or how they related to us, that gets us used to a certain pattern. We get this nervous system imprint that is created at a very early point in life, and we spend the rest of our lives replicating that if we're not careful. So the great kind of challenge, I think, for all of us, and this is true, by the way, of men too, right? How many men relentlessly chase after women who don't seem to want them,
Right.
who
Reject them.
who treat them like they're disposable?
Yeah.
How many guys are playing the friend to a woman for
man.
years on end, who picks them up and puts them down whenever it suits her, and they're doing it for years on end? This is not just a female pattern. This is a people pattern. Why is it that we respond to people who treat us poorly?
Why do we think we do?
Because there is something about it that is known to us.
It's familiar.
It's familiar, and we don't realize it. We think we hate it. I hate it. I hate that this person doesn't want me. And if I could just get this person to want me, I'd feel good again. But what people often find is, if that person truly turned around to meet you and gave you everything that you wanted from the beginning, it would have felt strange. That there's something in this dynamic that is, in a weird way, safe to you.
Yes.
It doesn't make you feel safe, but there's some kind of safety in the familiar, and that's not our fault. We should exercise compassion towards ourselves for that, because it's not our fault that these really damaging and destructive patterns are things that we chase, because this was created at a time when we weren't deciding our response systems to things. We were in survival mode. And, you know, I spoke to a woman recently. I did a show recently where the host of the show said, I really struggle to have hard conversations with people. Like, if I have to have and a big part of this book is, like, I have a whole section on how to have hard conversations. Because, by the way, every relationship is shaped, is made in the crucible of hard conversations, right? Can you have the difficult conversation? Can you say the thing you're afraid to say? And can you express your need without fearing that if you do, something bad will happen? And so many of the times people end up in painful relationships, or not even relationships. They end up in painful dynamics, or they end up in limbo with someone where it never ends up as a relationship.
Yes.
It's always casual. Is because they're afraid to have the hard conversations. There was this woman that was one of the hosts of the show. And she said to me, I really struggle to have hard conversations. And I don't know why. I just, every time I go to have a hard conversation, it's like I break out in sweats and I panic, and she said, it wasn't that in my family, like, no one's really ever had hard conversations. She said, and she didn't realize what she was saying as she said it, but she said, it's like my dad, for example. If I try to have a hard conversation with him, he just leaves the room.
Right.
And she kept going, but she didn't realize what she had said, which is your entire life, because that wasn't a pattern your dad started yesterday, right? Your dad's most likely been like that since the day you were born. So what you learned is that if you tried to have a hard conversation with your father, he would leave the room.
He would abandon you.
So now you have what therapists call a core abandonment wound, right? This is something that's now with you. And you wonder why with this person that you're on date 3 with, who shouldn't even be that important to you, why it feels hard to articulate that, you are disappointed that they showed up half hour late to the date, or that they didn't text you for a week and then all of a sudden reached out of nowhere to say, do you want to do something in 1 hour? And then you went without expressing that, hey, we had 2 great dates, and then you would I didn't hear from you for a week, and now you're like, are you ready in an hour? The reason she didn't express that and the reason it made her so terrified to express it, irrationally terrified, is because in her world, it's been perfectly rational. It's not, this is where compassion comes in, because we're very good at calling ourselves crazy. I feel crazy. Why am I so scared of having this conversation? Or we get called crazy by other people. That's a favorite thing to call people. She was crazy. They're crazy. You can't believe what they tried to do or what they said to me. They're not crazy. Something happened. So they experienced something in their world at a time when it was their reality. It was her reality growing up. And I'm extrapolating here, but like I said, if she's saying that about her dad, almost certainly her dad didn't start doing that last week.
Right.
He's been doing it her whole life. It was real for her that there was a time in her life where if she tried to express a need with her father or tell him something that she wasn't happy with, or something that she'd like him to do more of or less of, or a way that he'd hurt her, he would not be able to have the conversation and he would leave. That, when you're a child, that poses a real threat to you.
Yes.
So what she's feeling now is rational for her in her world based on where she came from. We look at it from the outside and go, I can't believe that she would be so afraid to say this thing. And she's going to end up in a 2-year relationship with someone who never meets any of her needs, who doesn't even know what her needs are, who she resents deep down because it's like he never thinks of me.
Yeah.
But she's terrified to have that conversation because for her, if she has a hard conversation, it means abandonment. And abandonment means on an emotional level, not a logical level, she might not survive.
Yes.
And so when someone says, I struggle, I find it a turnoff when someone is nice, they are articulating a deep, deep pattern that has been there for a long time in their life that they didn't choose and that they may not even be aware of.
And most likely it sounds like their father probably was either rude to their mother or rude to them as a child, or maybe had some, behavioral patterns that caused them to feel rude at different times.
Yeah, or they, were neglected and they felt like in order to get attention, they had to do a lot, or they had to be, the golden child, or they had to, meet everyone's needs. They had to go out of their way all the time to make someone happy. And so, and then they'd get whether it's from the father or the mother, they'd get a hit of love. And all of a sudden it's like, I feel calm, I feel safe. Oh, this feels so good. And then of course it's right back to, the next day they're cold again, and you have to fight for that next hit. And so if you've experienced that and now you're out there looking for love, you may very well have developed the association that love is something you have to earn. Love is something that comes in fits and starts. Love is something that you're grateful when you get a hit of it, and then you have to endure these periods of someone being cold in order to get the next hit. And of course, that's, you know, what's known as the trauma bond. But that's really what someone is saying. When someone says I get turned off by people who are nice, and I get turned on by people who, you know, give me, and we have all sorts of euphemistic terms for it, like the bad boy, or the person who, like, you know, is super bold, or the person who has an edge or whatever. But a lot of the time what we're talking about is I'm trauma bonded to people who are hot and cold, inconsistent, make me have to earn their love, their attention, take it away from me and then give me it back again. And that, by the way, makes that woman who said that a perfect target for abusive people. It makes them a perfect target for people who, forget like whether they're abusive because they're narcissists or because they're, you know, sociopathic. It makes you a perfect target for someone who's in even just a selfish phase of their life. Because someone who's in a selfish phase of their life takes what they can get.
It's intermittent, it's up and down, it's hot and cold.
They're glad to be around someone who doesn't ask a lot of them.
Yeah.
So even if you don't get someone who's truly toxic and abusive, you're still going to attract people who are selfish.
Yes.
And those people are going to waste your time and your energy because they're not where you're at. But you never test the relationship because this is on some level what you're looking for. This is what's familiar to you.
Man. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more inspiring clips like this, make sure to click right here to subscribe and click right here to watch that next video that is specific to support you in your life.